Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Seiben here for the Aether Hub, bringing you more Magic the Gathering lore. Today, a little connected content with Nizahan on the channel. Here, I'm going to be examining the story behind angels across the multiverse of MTG. Now, most of us already have an idea of angels, MTG or otherwise, and you know what? They're basically the same general idea. They are humanoid beings with winged feathers on their backs, who sometimes sport halos. Oftentimes, they're depicted as female, although that's not always true in religion or MTG. More on that later. And they're heavily associated with white mana, but again, this isn't always 100% the case, even though they're often considered the quintessential white mana creature type. Similar to the angels we see in religions, angels in MTG do carry with them some religious aspects, such as being worshipped, but this varies plane to plane. Some are the focal point of spirituality, while others are just like sacred flying people. Let's take a look at some of the different types of angels you can find as you travel throughout the multiverse. But quick note here, I won't be covering literally every legendary angel. I know that's what a lot of you may be looking for, but that's a lot to cram into one roughly 10-minute long video. So to avoid sounding long-winded, I'll be targeting those legendaries I feel are most relevant while visiting planes with more prominent groups of angels. Let's begin with probably the most famous and iconic plane to find angels ever in Magic the Gathering, a plane literally dedicated and built for this creature type, Serra's Realm. Serra was a powerful planeswalker who, using her pre-mending magic, created her own artificial plane that literally looked like heaven. In this place, she filled it with her very own angels, which are famously known as Serra's Angels. Fun fact, Serra Angel was the first angel ever printed all the way back in Alpha, and is probably the most iconic angel card of all time. Of course, on a plane made without suffering or pain, the angels and few people that lived here had it pretty easy. That is, until Urza came and bungled it all up. It wasn't him directly, but he brought with him the Phyrexians, who were trailing them at the time, and they didn't play nice with this angelic world. Their corrupting oil seeped into every cloud, and got all those nice white angels a little messy, causing heaps of chaos, pain, and suffering. All the things Serra wanted to escape, so she bounced. With this corrupting influence, Serra's archangel in charge of her armies actually flipped, and wanted to rule Serra's realm herself. Yeah, Phyrexian oil has that effect on people, even angels. This once pure angel was known as Radiant. Another under Radiant's command was the strong warrior known as Selina, yet, like Radiant, she was twisted by Phyrexian's technology and turned into a Dark Angel, actually having both white and black mana at her cost. Such was the fate for most angels on Serra's realm, but luckily Urza didn't literally ruin everything. I mean, he basically did, but also managed to save a small group of the angels from the Phyrexians by bringing them to Dominaria. Thanks for at least trying, Urza. Back on Dominaria, there are a ton of different angels to discuss, including those who fell from Serra's realm, appropriately referred to as fallen angels. Now, a fallen angel is different from a regular angel because of the application of what are known as horned halos. These are powerful artifacts designed by mages to bind Serra angels to their will, granting them greater magical strength and the ability to endow their masters with enhanced prowess. The angel Trine, who was corrupted and changed to a fallen angel, required regular sacrifices in order to maintain her and her master's power. It's said thousands of lives were lost to her power lust. Fallen angels are the perfect example of the corrupting influence of black mana on this creature type. On Dominaria, we also have what are known as Angels of Vengeance. These are angels who are often summoned by a master and forced to carry out destructive acts against their nature. In doing so, these angels lose a lot of their spiritual and otherworldly aspects, becoming more living monsters than angelic hosts. One of the greatest examples of these was Akroma, who was actually a living illusion, but hey, if it looks like an angel and flies like an angel, it's an angel, right? Anyway, she was bound to seek vengeance, and eventually she embodied fury more so than anything else. Of course, Akroma wasn't the only created angel in Dominaria, it seems to be all the rage on this plane. The sages of the Latnam school, inspired by the tales of the inspirational and powerful Serra angels, of course, made their own known as the Dueler Angels, designed specifically to protect the school of Latnam and its secrets. And oh, let's not forget the ever so popular artificial angels. Not just like unnaturally crafted, I mean like they're literally artifacts. Built by the famous artificer Latula to aid in a great war, the Copperleaf Angels didn't see much frontline experience and are barely even mentioned in the story of Dominaria, but hey, they're a cool idea. Traveling to the once fractured world of Alara, we visit this plane's angel mecca, the Shard of Bant. Angels of Bant are holy creatures who many believe are the living symbols of their society's most treasured ideals. They're strong, loyal, honorable, and everything the people of Bant strive to be, hoping that in acting like them in life, they may be reborn as an angel in death. Of course, Bant has quite the history with angels, with its most iconic being Asha. In these stories and folktales, Asha protected the people of Bant from a hideous demon named Malfagor, eventually banishing him to the realm of Grixis. Although she hasn't been seen since, her vigil, the Vigil of the Empty Throne, still protected her people right up until the conflux. Even afterwards, the throne calls forth angels to fight in her stead. Yet, even without Asha, the people of Bant have a hierarchy of angels to turn to for guidance. The highest of their order are known as Asura, and while 7 exists, the most prominent is the Asura of War known as Jenara. Below the Asura are the vast numbers of angels that answer to them, and even lower still, those who actually watch over humans. Despite their symbolism, the majority of angels on Bant don't interact with the everyday lives of the citizens here. Of course, Alara isn't just Bant, and while angels don't really exist on the other shards, they did manage to spread their wings to these otherworldly places following the conflux, the event which merged the shards back into a single Alara. Mostly the lower angels migrated to Esper, where they were fitted with Ethereum body parts and became the Filigree Angels. Under a new philosophy, these angels forsake honor and instead dedicate their lives to incorporating all living things with Ethereum, like themselves. Of course, with the power of the conflux and the resulting maelstrom of mana, we got the birth of what are known as Maelstrom Archangels, who powerfully control all 5 colors of mana. They have no real sense of direction or purpose, just unbridled power. On the plane of Zendikar, angels are more religiously worshipped in a traditional sense. They protected the weak and helpless, and thus gained a sort of, well, angelic reputation. When Zendikar fell under siege by the Eldrazi titans Emrakul, Ulamog, and Kozilek for the first time, the plane's natural defenses came to the rescue. One problem though, the angels, collectively, were no match for the world-eating Eldrazi. They were killed by the thousands until all hope died to these symbols of hope. With no real ability to fight the Eldrazi, the angels pulled their halos down over their eyes, forever blinding them to the atrocities they committed as a result of their failure. They went about protecting the citizens of Zendikar from more terrestrial threats, but never again fought the Eldrazi, even as they slaughtered people near them. Yet some more powerful among them managed to continue seeing the Eldrazi for what they truly were, and fought them where they could. Chief among them was the Archangel Iona. Keeping her halo high, she was one of the few who continued to fight even after all others surrendered. Eventually, the Eldrazi were jailed on Zendikar thanks to Sorin, Ugin, and Nahiri, meaning the angels here didn't have much else to worry about, yet still they wore their halos down in shame. One of the Eldrazi titans, Emrakul, was warped over centuries by zealots who worshipped the monster as an angel named Emiria. This is where Iona gets her title, Shield of Emiria, from, a misunderstanding of the truth tied to one who actually fought against the Eldrazi. Yet the titans wouldn't remain jailed forever. They eventually broke free, but their release had a strange effect on the plane's angels. Their halos of oppression shattered, giving the angels another shot at redemption for their past folly. Yet, the Eldrazi never weakened during their imprisonment. The angels flew out to meet the monsters, and most of them would never return. On the mechanically marvelous world of Kaladesh, the angels here take on a pretty unique aesthetic. As you'd imagine on a world as artificey as Kaladesh, the angels here are imbued by various forms of metal and the magical essence known as Aether. They're also a part of the religion of the plane, although it's more naturally focused and spiritual. Inventors here see them as perfect designs, the final, ultimate stage of the Aether cycle. As they're not religious figures, the angels of Kaladesh don't necessarily help people, being more solitary creatures who only interact with other angels. On the actually artificial world of Mirrodin, angels are rare and mysterious creatures who are scarcely ever seen. Like all life on Mirrodin, angels were likely sucked up from Dominaria and abducted by the golem known as Memnarch. Over time, the angels here incorporated metal parts to their bodies, in particular their wings. While they don't do much charitable work on Mirrodin, they were still worshipped by the Ariok, a nomadic group of humans. During the rise of New Phyrexia on Mirrodin, the angels joined the resistance, with many being captured and completed by the Praetors, namely the White Praetor Elish Norn. As a rare sign of cooperation between the Praetors, Elish Norn offered one of her completed angels to be imbued with the powers of the others, creating the monster we know today as the Commander Killer, Atraxa, Praetor's voice. Traveling to the city plane of Ravnica, you'll be met with two different types of angels tied to two different guilds. The more quote-unquote traditional angels can be found among the Boros Legion. Referred to as the Firemane Angels, those of the Boros Legion regard themselves as living embodiments of justice and revenge. All angels in the Boros Legion were created by the founder of the guild, Razia, making all the angels as clones of herself. Angels would forever head the Boros Legion, even after Razia's death, as Feather became the new guildmaster. Yet these angels are more passionate than your average angels, with Aurelia, the war leader, leading a coup to replace Feather as the Boros guild leader. Even angels are subject to a holier-than-thou kind of sentiment. The other type of angel you can find on Ravnica are tied to the Orzhov Syndicate, and are known as Angels of Despair. Their origins are still a complete mystery. They may very well be related to those of the Boros Legion, and even clones of Razia, but regardless, they've certainly changed quite a bit. While being dark and foreboding, the Angels of Despair don't share their brother's same sense of justice and honor, but they do share a strong sense of duty. Only their duty is to the corrupted and greedy Orzhov. So yeah, kind of not the same as the Boros Legion. And finally, we travel to the second most angel-rific world, after Sarah's realm that is, and that's the plane of Innistrad. Because what's the dark without light? The angels of Innistrad are, like other angels, comprised completely of white mana, making them the staunch defenders of people in this world so haunted by evil. Angels are organized into three different flights: the flight of Gold Knight led by Gisela, the flight of Alabaster led by Bruna, and the flight of Herons led by Sigarda. Each of these sects represent different aspects of life on Innistrad, but all fought for the innocent. You may be wondering, well, when does the most famous angel on Innistrad come into play? That being the Archangel Avacyn. Well, sorry to burst your bubble, but she isn't a natural-born being on Innistrad, and thus came well after the formation of these flights. Avacyn was created by the vampire planeswalker Sorin Markov, specifically to fight back the ever-growing hunger of his fellow vampires. Why do that, you ask? Well, Sorin likes to play the long game. He realized that as humans, the vampire's primary food source, began to lose ground, they would eventually become extinct on Innistrad. Without them, the vampires would have no source of food, and thus, his world would die. Avacyn was made to keep Innistrad in balance, which earned him the disdain of his fellow blood drinkers. Yet, in a titanic duel with the demon lord Griselbrand, Avacyn was lost as she became trapped within the Hell Vault, a jail for all things demonic on Innistrad. Without their Archangel, the Angels struggled to fight back the dark forces, and humankind almost lost for good. Luckily, through pure accident, Avacyn was freed and changed the course of Innistrad's fate. Among many other achievements, she cast what was known as the Curse Mute, which ended a number of terrible curses on the plane, including those werewolves willing to regain their humanity. These werewolves willingly let the angel into their hearts. Forever, they would remain in their bestial form, but retain their human minds, becoming the guardians of people known as the Wolfir. This balance stayed pretty steady for a few years, until the dark world of Innistrad got a little darker with the introduction of the Eldrazi titan Emrakul. Through the machinations of the really PO'd Nahiri, who really hated Sorin at this point, Avacyn lost her mind and founded what was known as the Last Flight, a group of angels more aligned with red mana who followed their archangel to the slaughter fields, killing scores of humans. Sorin was forced to unmake his own precious creation, who served as a magical deterrent to hostile forces out in the greater multiverse. With Avacyn's death, Emrakul's entrance to Innistrad was assured. In Emrakul's warping presence, many angels would fall to the Titan's corruption, such as the once honorable Bruna and Gisela, along with their flights. Through immense madness, these two Eldrazi angels fused to become Brisela, the personification of Emrakul's power over Innistrad. Coincidentally, Emrakul herself sort of has the personality of an angel. Remember, on Zendikar, the people there wrongly likened the Eldrazi to an angel named Emiria. Well, here on Innistrad, Jace Beleren seemingly made contact with the thoughts of Emrakul, who appeared to him as a beautiful angel. What this means, no one really knows, but it's certainly curious. And of course, we have one more plane to go over, and that's Almond Cat, being the first world that heavily features male angels. Despite their physical differences, the angels of Almond Cat seem to be similar to those of other planes. We don't know much about their purpose, but we do know most people here worship the gods of Almond Cat, and the angels serve those gods. Yet, this is a world tainted by Nicol Bolas, and it seems the ancient dragon planeswalker has corrupted the angels as well. Now their only purpose seems to be dumping the unworthy of the plane out into the harsh desert outside of their city's protective limits, ensuring their deaths. The angels here can also be embalmed, which is a common practice on Almond Cat, making them the only zombie angels found across the multiverse. Whew, that was a long one, guys. I hope you enjoyed this fast info on the many angels you can find across the Multiverse of Magic the Gathering. I want to know what you think about these winged angelic creatures in the comment section below. If you want to check out the top 10 angels ever printed in MTG, make sure you stop by and watch Nizahan's top 10 angels linked at the end of this video or in the description below. As always guys, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time here on the Aether Hub.